Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another animation analysis video, and just in time because I was about to go back and take a look at some older Dokkan units, and lo and behold, the part 2 animations for the brand new TEQ LR Super Saiyan Goku and Gohan dropped tonight. So we are going to be taking a look at these units. Before we get into that, first of all, I do want to apologize if you hear my fan in the background. It is hotter than heck where I live right now, and the heat literally just came out of nowhere. Spring was just straight skipped, bro, which is okay because I don't mind the heat. However, it's really hot in here, so you may hear my fan. I apologize about that. I would not be able to record unless that thing was on. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this brand new card. Now, one thing that I did want to share with you, if you are uninformed, is that this card actually does have a pretty cool origin. As you can see, we have just a screenshot from the essay, which we'll take a look at that in a minute, of course. But if we go to the actual section with the card art, it may be, here we go, right? This card art is actually pretty cool. Because the card art for this card is actually based on a pre-existing piece of Dragon Ball art. Here's the card art from the global producer letter earlier, and this is what the piece of art is actually based on. So pretty cool little nod there, and I suppose that that is what they sort of take the inspiration for this card, because this is one of Dokkan's few what-if cards. That's right, it is if Goku and Gohan fought Cell together. Basically, if Gohan or if Goku rather did not bite the dust with the Bye guys. So let's go ahead and watch them through one time as per usual, and then we will comment on them. Now, this is interesting because I cannot remember, and you can let me know in the comments below. Feel free, please. The last time that we got a LR that was literally just 2 super attacks and an active skill. I quite literally cannot remember the last time that that happened, but lo and behold, that is what we are in for today, ladies and gentlemen. This card literally only has the 2 super attacks and then the active skill. So, very interesting. This is definitely a very simple card for sure, but a very cool card nonetheless. I always love it when Dokkan does Dokkan original essays and cards and ideas like this. I think it is really, really cool every time they do something like this. Now, some of you may not like some of my takes with this card, and some of you may like my takes of this card, because I do have quite a bit to say about this card. So let's get into the super attacks first. Obviously, well, if we can, we'll raise the quality, but unfortunately, Twitter quality is mad stinky, and that's obviously where we get these from. So, to start off our animation, we obviously have Goku and Gohan standing here. We do have these little bit of a smaller sprites, and y'all know that already I'm not the biggest fan of these like thicker black lines on the small sprites. I don't know, just looks kind of weird. I will say, however, though, there is a cool little detail that I didn't even notice. Gohan's hair actually does have a little bit of movement there. You can see right there on the top of his head, his hair does actually move a little bit, which so unnecessary to animate that, because like no one's gonna notice it, but a very nice touch, I will say. So it's cool to see that detail. All right, so we immediately have this change in pose from Goku and Gohan here. This is a very interesting way to do a transition, where we literally have Goku standing there and then exploding into light to obviously represent him flying forward to charge itself. I do like how the actual like of Goku flying through the sky looks, but I will say this abrupt sort of like explosion of light definitely feels a little bit awkward, and especially Gohan just changing positions like that also feels a little bit janky when first looking at it. I do like the way that Gohan flies away though, and it's interesting though that Goku, you can't see him, but obviously here, right, you can clearly see Gohan as he's flying away. So I don't know why they decided to have Gohan be in the key aura and not Goku. Very weird if you ask me, but you know, it is what it is. This shot, very, very nice. This is animated so much like the Dragon Ball Z style. The actual coloring here is perfect. The look of the characters, the looks on their faces, right? The actual animation style of these two look really, really cool. I will say, the one thing that is a little bit odd about this section is the way that they move apart. I know that they are flying, and it's hard to like get good flying movement like this, but it really does kind of feel like Goku's PNG just sliding away from Gohan a little bit, which I don't really think I can ask anymore. Again, with this series, keep in mind I'm always like nitpicking all the little details about the super attack animations. That's obviously the whole point of this series. But I don't really know what else they could have done for that one, to be honest. TUR art also very, very cool, I will say. This might be some of my favorite art in the game. I really, really like the look of Goku and Gohan there. Obviously, they usually use the TUR art for the 12 key. Alright, so this section here, Goku looks a little bit weird, if I'm being honest. I think it's his face, and the fact that his hair is, like, so spiky and long like this. I do like the way that it flows in the wind. They definitely did a very good job animating that, as well as his gi itself. But something about the way that his hair looks just doesn't really feel Goku. Like, it almost feels a little bit too long to be Super Saiyan 1 hair. Oh boy. Alright, what is it with Dokkan and fumbling the bag on kicks? Ladies and gentlemen, this kick is awful. This is one of the worst kicks. This is a contender, sorry, Master Gun, to beat Super 17 in terms of bad kicks. You guys remember how much I hated that animation, I'm sure. And, oh my gosh, this is bad. This is so bad. Genuinely, this is one of the worst, like, punches or kicks I've ever seen in a Dokkan animation. So, they do have a little bit of animation on Goku, as you can see, right? When the kick lands, quote-unquote, you can see his hair, his arms, and his legs moving a little bit, right? So it's not like that it is completely just a PNG that is sliding on the screen. However, that is basically what it is, right? It's literally just a PNG of Goku in this very funky pose, obviously looking like he's winding up for the kick. And this is it. You kidding me? That's it? That's it? That's what they decided to keep? I wouldn't be as frustrated about this if Goku hit him here and then they had the kick follow through. They even have his leg move a little bit, but his leg would be like whipping forward for a kick of that strength. I don't know. That's really janky to me. That part is not great, if you ask me. Obviously, then we have Gohan fly in here. This shot is very, very clean. I definitely like the zoom in to the fist as well. Obviously, the cape flow in there looks really good. Definitely cool angle. It is kind of funny because you could see that obviously these assets were sort of meant to be viewed from far away. And then we have this very clear looking fist, right? Like the pixels on Gohan himself versus the pixels on his hand are apparent here. Like it's clear that they just zoomed in on the, you know, the assets of Gohan while they made this fist to be seen from more close up. Definitely a very cool shot though. I can't remember the last time actually that we got like a close-up punch where you, the viewer, get punched in the face by the character in the game. I definitely think that that is a pretty cool angle to do for sure. Then we obviously have a punch against Cell here. I definitely like the key effect on this too. It looks really, really cool if you ask me. And then we have him fly away. I will say, I kind of feel like that the punch doesn't have a lot of impact though because of this shot in particular. I don't know, like, I feel like maybe it should just be more in between when the fist actually makes contact. Let's see how both of these look in full speed real quick. Because Goku's definitely, besides looking super janky, right, definitely has no impact whatsoever, right? Literally, bro, that is atrocious. This kick is awful. That was so bad. How does Gohan's punch look? It still feels like it lacks a little bit of impact, if you ask me. I don't think that it's definitely not as bad as that kick. But this, right? I don't know. I feel like there should be a little bit more in between when he makes contact with his face and then when they have the far away shot. Or maybe just another shot in between that. It's definitely not as bad as the kick, though, right? So then obviously we have Goku come in and throw the Ki Blast at Cell here. Again, you can definitely see the jank as you have these very switch up poses, right? You have basically Goku PNG 1, Goku PNG, where are we at? 2, right? With a little bit of movement, obviously, and then Goku PNG 3. I always like it when there's a little bit more movement. Funny enough, this might have been a time where they actually could have benefited from a little bit of fade, which I normally don't like, but I would certainly prefer that over a slideshow for sure. The Ki Blast also kind of doesn't look that great. It's just a circle. However, when it gets here, though, it looks good. Because here it's just like a circle glowing. But then we have a little bit of life in the Ki Blast, by the way. Definitely, oops, I did not mean to go that crazy. Sorry, my bad. I definitely like the transition that they use here. Obviously, this is the Ki Blast smacking into the camera. Definitely a fan of that transition, right? The fade to white and then the fade out. Super good transition there for sure. Obviously, then we have Self Fly Away, and this key actually has a little bit of life. As you can see, it kind of gets in that oval shape, or oval. Oh my gosh, I can't say the word oval. I'm cursed, bro. Oval shape, excuse me. And obviously, as it's flying towards the enemy, it sort of takes that shape. It has a little bit more life to it than just the circle. And the explosion effect, I gotta say, unfortunately, usually Dokkan explosion effects do it for me. Kind of not great. Kind of not great. Very basic. Very much just so like zooming in on the explosion PNG for sure. This shot is alright. Goku does look, Goku and Gohan rather, look a little bit weird in the face area. Goku looks a little bit more accurate to himself, but I think Gohan definitely looks a little bit odd. Obviously we have a hard cut here to both of them kicking forward, which is a pretty cool shot. Still a little bit far away though. You can tell that like the assets are a little bit for this section, right? And I'm not sure if I like the shading here. It's kind of weird going from like this shading here with both of them flying towards the camera. Please transition back. I'm begging you, dog. Thank you. Where it's like there is a little bit of shading there, but I feel like it's where it should be. And then on this next shot, you have this really heavy shading on their backs, which like where is the light coming from that would be making those shadows? I guess it's like their aura, but I still feel like it wouldn't be on their back like that. I don't know. Very weird. You can also see that they have Gohan's PNG as well, obviously besides the moving parts, right? I say PNG not as like a real PNG in this case, but more, I guess, just a basic term to use for simplicity's sake. You can see that they also just made both of them actually just kind of grow a little bit bigger and smaller to sort of emulate them having a little bit of speed on them. We have a kick from both of these guys here and a punch from Goku. Again, not a lot of impact, especially when a character moves away from the other characters that they're getting punched by like this, right? Like obviously they try and have it feel a little bit more impactful with the explosion of light there, but when they just fly away like that, not the right way to do it for sure. Let's take a look at that in full motion real quick, just because I want to see. Again, I feel like it lacks a lot of impact. Yeah, they like kick. It takes him like a second, almost like it's like a Looney Tunes moment, bro, where my man needs a minute to be like, oh right, I just got hit. This explosion effect is pretty cool though. I definitely like the rock formation as well too. So far, I don't know, bro, I'm not really a fan of that 12 key. This shot, oh, very nice. Shading is very good. Characters look good. Very cool. Oof. And unfortunately we transition. Oh, I hate when I do that. I hate when I do that sound. Makes me sound so, I don't know what the proper word is. Anyway, this right here, right, where Gohan sort of changes poses like this, I'm always a lot more of a fan when they have a full animation of transition, right? Not the biggest fan of when they just give us the PowerPoint presentation, you know, treatment here. But I will say Gohan does look very good throughout this, and definitely with the cape moving and everything, it looks really good. His hair moving as well looks good too. It's kind of funny in looking at this at slow speed. It's not as bad when you're looking at this in fast motion, but Goku kind of just standing in the same pose while Gohan is squatting up also just looks a little bit funny, I'm not gonna lie. Just looks kind of goofy. Obviously, we have Gohan fly off, which looks really good. Goku standing in the background. Again, we have some more punches and kicks. I just really don't feel like they have a lot of impact to them. Every one of the punches and kicks in here has just not really done it for me. Like, I like the look of these punches and kicks a lot more than I like Goku's from the 12 key, that's for sure. Like, this is a really cool shot of Gohan. I think that the assets don't look too bad either. Even though this is a very sharp cut, I think that they do a good job of picking where to do it for this section, because obviously it's a kick. Quick movement to ready the punch, you know, to make it fly forward again. And then again, you have a good, like, transition from readying up to flicking the foot, right? And the animation of him flicking the foot is pretty good, right? I definitely like that a lot. Again, I think they do a pretty decent job here of picking where to make it sort of slideshow, right? This is also a little bit of a jarring shot because you're so far away and there's not really like a crazy transition. All of a sudden, bam, you're in Gohan's face. It is a little bit jarring. All right, so now this is, oh, I will say, this is a super sick transition from scene to scene, right? We obviously have Gohan's face sort of approaching the camera here. And then they do cut a little bit, but obviously in full temp speed, it feels a lot more natural. They transition to the side shot of Gohan. Very good choice of transition shots there. And a very cool angle from getting his big fist. This literally, here comes a giant fist! Gohan, no! Very cool angle there. And I love as well the motion lines that they did on this as well to emulate that moving fast as it passes by the camera. Very, very sick. Obviously, then we have it finally make contact with Cell here. Goku then pops in and does another little bit of an awkward kick. Goku is not doing so hot today, bro. I don't know why my man is kind of out of it today. Yeah, like, look, we have this one pose here, right? And then it immediately transitions to him flipped around. And he's kind of kicking a little bit. And then he raised his leg like a hare. Like my man's ballerina dancing out here. I don't know. Just definitely also doesn't feel that impactful. We have another kind of jarring transition here as well. This shot of Goku does look very nice, though. I will say his face here is a little bit weird. Maybe it's just because it's kind of elongated. Obviously, we have that look of Goku's hair when it's sort of like ruffled out, too, which is a pretty cool look for the character. But this punch definitely looks all right. I think that they did a good job as well of, like, you know, actually getting a good part where it's a good, quick movement again. It's also cool that they bothered to include his hand back here, since obviously it would be there. So yeah, then we have him punch Cell in the face. Again, like, not a crazy amount of impact, I feel like. I think that the wind-up with this one definitely helps, right? Where we have, obviously, the fist flying forward like this, from, like, a more neutral position. But even as it hits Cell, it's just kind of like, you know? And there's only a little bit of shake on it. They also try and give it a little bit more impact by sort of zooming past Goku's arm, you know, as the shot kind of shows Cell fully. Then we have him crash into the rocks here, and obviously just a little bit of smoke effect. And we have the final section of the 18 key obviously popping their Carter on the screen. This, I will say, I like this part a lot where they both do the Masenko and the Kamehameha. Maybe it's just me, again, being nitpicky, which it is, but I feel like they're, like, too stale. Like, their poses are too static here. Like, I understand that they're staying hovered in the air and firing their attacks, but I feel like, I don't know, they definitely feel a little bit not, like, dynamic enough here. I like the color scheme that they chose for both, obviously sort of representing the Masenko and the Kamehameha. That is pretty cool. But I definitely feel like they're, like, not dynamic enough in their movement and just their overall poses standing there in the air. Wow, holy cow, that I did not even notice that with the explosion effect. Hold on, we gotta go back and watch that. Hold on. Oh my gosh. So the beams kind of look okay. They're all right here, obviously coming out of their hands, right? But then once we get to this section, they're kind of just like two lines flying forward, which is a little bit eh. But the explosion effect, look at the sparks. That is really sick. I'm not going to lie. And then we even have like these little like smoke clouds here in the actual like rising blast. And then the blast actually erupts into the air and changes shape. Ooh! And we have rocks fly out too. Oh, that's a nice Dokkan. Bro, I might have to do a video just on Dokkan explosions. That is a really nice explosion, I'm not gonna lie. That might be the most impressive thing I've seen so far in the whole animation. Wow, that's cool with like the little fog bubbling up there. Alright, so I think it's pretty easy to say that this is definitely the best part of their animations is the active skill here. I don't think anybody is going to be disagreeing on that fact. Hydrate or dihydrate, baby. This shot of Gohan, oh my gosh, it is so good. So obviously we have the smoke rising up, which already looks fantastic, right? This very cool shot of Gohan with his face sort of buried in his cloak there as well looks really cool. Obviously the cape also moving behind him looks great. We have the classic sort of Dragon Ball Z power up aura swirling around their body sort of like look with this color here, which looks really, really cool. And obviously it transitions to a beautiful shot of Gohan standing in Super Saiyan 1. The aura looks great. The coloring looks literally perfect. Very, very cool. I kind of wish that the fabric on his shoulders was flapping a little bit too. I understand that it's obviously supposed to be like pulled tight against the shoulder pads, but I don't know. I feel like the little bits of loose bits there should still be a little bit flapping too. Oh, okay. This face. When I saw this face for Goku, when I was watching this animation the first couple times, it's not great. I don't know what they were doing with this one. His neck also looks a little bit funky. Like, it almost looks like he has too much back there. Like, his back is almost too far out. I don't know. That expression, though, for Goku is not great. His face just looks pretty wonky there, if you ask me. I feel like this could also easily become a meme format. Someone's definitely going to caption that with some kind of text and post it on twitter.com for sure. Obviously, we have Goku speaking here for the active skill, and of course, we zoom out to Gohan, who looks pretty good, I will say. I think he definitely looks better than Goku's face here for sure. There is some really interesting shading on Gohan here. I feel like his face is too light and his, like, gi is too dark for sure. The shading is a little bit weird in that section for sure. This is really cool, though. Definitely a pretty good cut, I would say. I thought that this was pretty cool. It is also nice because it's sort of like a surprise. You're like, oh, what are they going to do? And then they both square up for the Kamehameha, and you're like, oh! Yeah, this shot is really, really nice. Definitely like this one a lot. Literally, no complaints here from me. I think the shading looks great. The Kamehameha effects in their hands look fantastic. When they've transitioned to the front shot, both Goku and Gohan look pretty good. Goku still looks a little bit weird in my opinion, but definitely not crazy weird. And I will say the Kamehameha in their hand also looks very great. A lot better than some of the other ki blasts that we've seen in Dokkan for sure. It looks like it has like energy swirling inside it, right? As we're obviously looking at it here and we're seeing it glow. Definitely a very nice effect. We have some very good movement for both of them here, and ooh, that's a really sick shot of both of them in the black and white. Definitely a very good spot. Obviously, you have a little bit of the wind-up, and then they launch the attack forward, and obviously having a black and white to sort of transition you to them firing it forward is really cool. You can even see as well here, there's obviously a little explosion out the front of Gohan's hands here, which definitely is a lot better than just the beam starting up, right? Obviously, this is a really cool transition here where it goes back to the ball, back to the little explosion effect. Obviously sort of representing it like beginning to shoot out until it finally explodes into a Jama Kamehameha. And it's cool that it goes and then goes back, right, to a little bit of a smaller look here too. Definitely a very good job on that part. This looks really, really nice. I definitely like this section a lot. And then we have the Kamehameha beams fly forward. Again, so much of a better job than the previous key, right? You can see the energy moving in the Kamehameha blasts, right? As they fly forward, they also look like they have a little bit more curvature, a little bit of movement, rather than just your generic line going forward, right? When they make contact with Cell, they actually explode outward, which looks really, really good for sure. And then we have a nice close-up shot of the two of them too. This is where we have the transition into Super Saiyan 2. So they zoom in, and this is very interesting. Obviously, this sort of like parodies Gohan actually going Super Saiyan 2 with like the red line in the background. Interestingly enough, I suppose it's because they're both doing the Kamehameha. That's a cool shot as well too. You know, so there's like blue light around them, right? We have the blue line expand behind Gohan, which looks really, really good for sure. Very, very cool. I love the colors that they have going on in the back too. You know, obviously this is sort of like, I don't really know what to like call this, if it's like they're enveloped in the Kamehameha, or maybe more like this is like in Gohan's mind. It's kind of just like those anime effects that they use, right, to sort of represent like a hype moment. But I love the way that it looks. I think they did a fantastic job getting that with just a bunch of PNGs as well. Obviously we have the zoom in to Gohan's face, which honestly I would have kind of preferred if they would have kept it zoomed out, to be 100% honest with you. Like, I understand that the reason why they do this, right? They zoom in and have Gohan scream like this, so then they can change the hair off camera, right? And that is a really cool shot too. Holy cow. The black and white shots in this one are really nice. Obviously then as well, they can also have the transition be with the black and white. I mean, maybe they don't do the zoom in as much for the hair transitioning, right? But I guess with them zooming in, they don't have to show his hair spiking up, right? They don't have to show an actual transition, right? If they can do that, because it's sort of just implied to be off screen. I don't know. I would have kind of rather seen the hair spike up personally and have it be a little bit zoomed out. I think this is just a little bit too close for comfort for me. They do zoom out a little bit though when obviously the Super Saiyan 2 hair comes there. But this shot does look really cool. And obviously we have this transition. This is a very interesting transition for sure, because like this looks good on its own, right? This almost kind of reminds me of Bujigiri a little bit, honestly. The electricity looks good. This in-between shot is not great, but obviously this is a transitional shot, right? We're only seeing this because we're nitpicking it and we're going apart it basically frame by frame, right? Obviously, this is meant to transition you into this shot, which of course is based on the piece of art that this card is based on, like I showed you in the beginning, right? It's based off of this piece of art right here, and that's why Gohan's face looks like that. But it is still kind of funny to see how they accomplish this transition. Even it's weird too, because a lot of the detail on Gohan's assets here, right, sort of disappear once they have this transition, right? There's a lot more like shading on his hair. His muscle has a lot more definition. There's a lot more definition on his clothing, and then that sort of disappears. It's also weird too, because it's kind of hard to tell where the cloak is here, right? Like you can kind of see, but it sort of looks purplish, sort of white, and then they have it pan back right out to it again. But yeah, very interesting transition for sure. This also kind of made me think that Goku was Super Saiyan 2 when I first saw this, but it's just because his hair is getting blown back. But a very, very cool shot for sure. I'm definitely a fan of how that looks for sure. I also like the zoom out a lot. That's really cool. It's nice that they have like a moment like this where it's sort of like, this is like the big moment in the essay, right? And then they sort of fade away from it. I think that's a really neat way to do it. So obviously we have the Kamehameha shootout, which is a really cool angle, by the way, because you're kind of seeing it from the side originally, right, when they're shooting it out. And then as it goes, you're sort of turning the camera a little bit to be a little bit more closer to it, and you're kind of seeing it from a kitty corner angle, which I think is definitely a very nice, like, camera transition, right? Very cool there for sure. I like the look that the Kamehameha has as well. Very nice as well, as it obviously... I believe that this is not it making contact with Cell. I believe this is just like it hitting the ground, right? I like this effect too of like the ground sort of, right, like forming around it. And then obviously the crazy Kamehameha effect shooting out of Gohan and Goku here. This is a really cool angle as well, obviously again from the side. Oh, the camera transitions in this one are so good, bro. What are they... What did they do for this one, bro? So this is really cool because obviously, again, you have this sort of side angle, and then they transition to you looking at it flat from the side, moving sort of around, and now you are watching it fly forward, which is really cool. I don't know what this line here is. I'm not sure what that is supposed to be, because obviously the front of the Kamehameha, you're like seeing it here. So I'm not exactly sure what the line is supposed to be. I guess it's... Oh, okay. So it's basically just like for a little bit more effects, essentially. This is really cool, though. When I saw this, I was really happy that they did this. Because obviously a lot of the time Dokkan sprites ruin the sort of immersion for stuff like this. Because obviously, right, for example, with like SDR Vegeta when he does his 12 key, right, and he does the, you know, Spirit Sword, the character turns bald. But if it's a character with hair, it just looks really weird. So no matter what the sprite is, it just looks like they're disintegrating here. However, the other really cool thing about this is that besides obviously this disintegration looking really, really good, and the Ki Blast sort of enveloping the enemy character looks really cool too. The beginning of this, the shape of the actual like deteriorating dust is definitely very close to Cell's shape when he was first deteriorating. So it also kind of implies that you're still fighting Cell, because obviously that's the animation that this is supposed to be. I don't know. I think that's a really cool little touch for sure. Obviously we have it dissipate. Another really nice shot of the Kamehameha flying forward with all the rocks coming up, really nice. This shot of the Earth also looks really, really good too. And this is a really nice transition, I will say, because this is almost like... instead of them showing like the aftermath of them being directly tired or something like that, it's like transitioning to another scene almost. Like you're skipping a little bit ahead of what happened, and then you have Goku congratulating Gohan, which is also a very, very nice looking shot. Obviously super high quality. It's also maybe with Goku's face in a lot of this, I'm so used to him in the Cell Saga having these rounded eyes, and seeing the more like sharp, sort of slimmer eyes is just a little bit like off-putting for the Cell Saga, I guess. But that is the entire animation. Overall, I think that obviously active skill is the best part of these guys, like bar none. I don't think that there's any denying that. There is a lot of really janky stuff in here for sure, and a lot of stuff that I am not really a fan of, absolutely. I definitely don't think that these guys are like absolutely terrible or super bad by any means, right? I just definitely don't think that they are the best of the best, right? They are still very cool animation wise. They definitely lack a couple things, but they also do a lot of things really right too. So let me know what you think in the comments section below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this unit. I am pretty excited for them. I do really like this animation a lot here. So I will probably throw a couple multis on this banner as well. But definitely let me know, again, what you think of these animations and if you're going to be summoning. And until the next one, Dokkan Assets out. Peace.